Have you ever looked at someone of your age and then you started thinking and then speaking to yourself in this manner? They already know what they are actually doing with their own life. Now, what for me? Oh, now what? But just take a good look at me right now. Maybe someone has a successful career that you know. Maybe someone is happily married that you know. Maybe someone has started a business that is really flourishing well that you know. Maybe someone seems completely confident about their own future that you know. And then you look at yourself again with so much disappointment and then frustration. And then you thought for a moment and you now ask yourself this question: what am I even doing safe in this life that I came? Abi, I come to sit down look others. Now wow, now what for me? Maybe you don't know exactly what career you want for yourself yet in life. Maybe you are not sure about where you are actually going to yet in your life. Maybe the plan that you had for your life initially does not even excite you anymore right now in your life. And because other people seem so certain about their own direction in life, guess what? This now makes you to start thinking, and so you just jump into conclusion immediately that you are really behind in life. But my dear friend, come to think of it this way. What if you are not really behind in life as you are actually thinking? What if you are simply at a stage of your life whereby you are still discovering what actually fits you the most? And here is the perspective that I really want you to consider today. And this is it: you don't always discover your path in life by you thinking about it, because sometimes you discover your path in life by you actually walking. So let us talk about that right now through this clear path that I will be disclosing to you right now, for us to really have a better understanding as we are walking on our different paths in our life. Okay? Part one: you may be expecting yourself to know something that you haven't really experienced yet in your life. Now, I want you to think about it. How can you know exactly what kind of life really suits you the most if you haven't really experienced many different kinds of life? How can you really know exactly what career fits you best if you have only experienced a few environments in your life? How can you know what you are really good at doing if you haven't tried enough things yet in your life? And that is why sometimes we call ourselves confused in life, when in reality we are just inexperienced people. And there is a difference, I must tell you. You are not necessarily failing in your life because you don't know anything at all, but you may simply need more experiences, more attempts, more conversations, more mistakes, more opportunities to actually discover that will not make you to know if this is for me or actually this isn't for me. Okay, and so both discoveries are what valuable. Part two: your first plan was never a contract at all. Maybe you grew up believing that you will become one particular thing in your life, and then life really happened to you, and somehow your interest changed, and then your circumstances also changed. Now, the truth is that you have really changed, and suddenly the old plan doesn't feel right for you anymore. Now, in reality, the truth is this: you might start to think in this way, but I already decided what I wanted for myself in life. Yes, of course you did. But you are really allowed to do what? To change your mind. Because the person who created that plan may have been your younger self that is less experienced, naive, working with less information. And so you don't have to really remain loyal to your old version of yourself just because you once made a promise to it. Now, sometimes changing your direction in life is not failure at all, as most of us might really be thinking about it, okay? Because sometimes changing your direction in life is just an evidence that proves to us that, of a truth, too, you have learned something new in your life. Part 3: stop using someone else's milestone to measure your own life. Someone else may reach a milestone in their own life before you, but that doesn't automatically mean that they are now really ahead of you in life. Because their life isn't a single race where everyone is running towards the same finish line. Because you may be building something that they have not really built before. Now, you may be learning something that is new that they haven't learned before in their own life. You may be healing from something that they've never experienced before in their own life. You see, you may be discovering yourself in ways that nobody else can really see from the outside. So, I am really begging you to stop comparing yourself. Stop comparing your behind the scene, to someone else's highlight reel in their own life, because in reality, the honest truth is, if you keep on comparing yourself to them, then you always, have this feeling that you are losing out completely in life. And that is not always so. And so you should stop the comparison thing, because you don't know the full story of someone else's life. And even them, the truth is this, they don't also know the full story of your own life also. Part 4: confusion can actually be part of your discovery in life. Here is a perspective that I really want you to remember always, okay? Sometimes the confusion that we often experience in our life is just an information. So, if you try something and then you now realize that you don't really enjoy it anymore, you know what? That is an information for you to work with. If you are working somewhere and then you just realize that you now want something else differently, that is an information for you to actually work with. If you meet certain people in your life and then you discover what kind of relationships that you don't want anymore in your life, then that is an information for you to work with. If you make a mistake in your life and then you learn what you need to change in your life, then open your eyes and see what I am seeing, my dear friend. That is an information. And so I want you to really be aware that your life is not only teaching you through your success, but your life is also teaching you through the things that don't really work in your life that makes you to feel bad. Okay? So instead of you to be asking yourself, why don't I have everything in my life all figured out? You should rather try instead by asking yourself this question: what is this season of my life really teaching me about what I actually want for myself in life? Okay, that is a much better question for you to rather ask yourself. And so, don't you think so? Part 5: you don't need the whole map. Imagine right now that you are driving somewhere that you have never been before in your life. Do you really need to see the entire road map before ever you can start to drive? Of course, no. Because you just need enough information to take the next turn, isn't it? And you know what? life can actually work the same way too. And so you don't need to know exactly where you are going to be in the next 10 years before you take that step. You may not even need to know where you actually be in the next 5 years before you should do whatever you ought to do, because sometimes what you simply need to know is this: what is the next right step for you to take in your life? So you should learn something instead, apply for something instead, start something instead, talk to someone instead, practice something instead, save money instead, read instead, create and then try, because the next step that you really need to take does not have to reveal the entire future of your life, but it only needs to move you forward. Okay, part 6: you are allowed to try things that don't work. This is very, very important, because you may start something in your life and then you fail. You may try a career in your life and then you now realize that you hate it. You may start a project in your life and then you abandon it. You may pursue a dream in your life and then you discover that it wasn't actually your dream anymore. So I am really begging you not to automatically call that a wasted time in your life, because you actually gained information now. I want you to see exactly what I am saying right now, because you learned something about yourself. The experience may have introduced you to another opportunity in life. It may have shown you what you don't want anymore in your life. It may have really helped you to develop a skill that you will now use later in your life. And sometimes the road to the right thing also includes several wrong turns. Part 7: but don't use "I am still figuring it out" as an excuse for you not to never move forward in your life. Now, there is another side to this. You don't need to have everything in your life all figured out before ever you do something, but you just need to move. You can't spend 10 years of your life researching what you might do and never actually trying anything at all again. You can't wait until you feel completely confident before you do anything. You can't demand certainty before taking every step, because at some points you have to really experiment, because clarity often comes after action, not before the action. And you know what? You learn by doing. You discover by experiencing. You gain confidence by you moving. So don't wait for your entire life to make a perfect sense before ever you can actually take the next step in your life. Okay? Part 8. You may become many different versions of yourself in life. Now, there may be a version of you that wants one thing today and then something completely different 5 years from now. And this is just normal and fine. But you don't have to start panicking, because that is just okay and fine. You are not a finished product, but you are a person that is learning, growing, changing. And you know what? Your interests can really change. Your priorities can change. Your definition of success can change, and the life that you once dreamed about for yourself may not be the same life that you eventually choose for yourself. Okay? And mind you, that doesn't mean that you have actually failed in your life, but it simply means that you have actually evolved. Okay? Part 9. Don't confuse your slow progress with no progress. Sometimes you are actually moving, but you just don't see dramatic results yet. You are learning a skill, building your confidence, learning how to start saving your money, creating content, improving on your communication, becoming more disciplined, learning from your several mistakes. You see, none of this may really look impressive from the outside, but they are really building something in you, because in reality, growth, is often quiet before it becomes visible for everyone else to see. So don't dismiss your small progress simply because it have not become a big result yet in life. Okay, part 10. Your job is not to predict your future. This might be one of the biggest lessons from this video, okay? Your job is not for you to start predicting exactly how your life will turn out to be for you, but your job is for you to really participate in what creating it. So you don't need to know every chapter of your life before ever you can write the next chapter of your life. You don't need certainty, but you need curiosity. You need courage. You need the willingness to always learn. And sometimes you just simply need to take the next step, Shikina. So if you are currently thinking right now, I don't know what I am actually doing with my life, instead of immediately panicking, you should rather ask yourself these important questions, and they are: what can I really learn? What can I really try? What is no longer working well for me anymore right now in my life as we speak? What am I really curious about? What is one step that I can really take this week in order for me to better my life? You see, those questions have what it takes to turn your entire confusion in your life into movement. And you know what? Let me tell you the truth. Movement creates information, and information creates clarity, and the clarity helps you to now make better decisions in your life. So you are now seeing what I am seeing right now. So maybe you are not really behind in your life as you may think. Maybe you are not even failing. Maybe you are not even wasting your life. Maybe you are still gathering the needed information that you really need in order for you to understand fully where you are really heading to in your life. And that is just okay and fine, because you don't need to have your entire future all figured out, but you just need to be willing to just take the next honest step that you really need to take. And that is why you really need to try something for yourself. For example, learn something new, change something in your life, and start again if necessary. And don't be really ashamed of yourself by you changing your direction whenever you just discover that the road that you are actually on isn't, the road that you want for yourself anymore. Okay, because sometimes the truth is this: you don't find your path in life by you standing still and then waiting for clarity to come and meet you, but you rather find it by walking. Okay, so at this point, if this video really gave you a perspective that you have not really considered before, then consider subscribing to Simplicity in Peaks channel, because I want this channel to really be a place whereby you don't just hear motivational words only, but I want you to be a place whereby you will always live with something that you can actually think about. Okay, I mean something that will always help you to have a better understanding of yourself a little better, and also something that will really make you to say, maybe I don't have to have everything in my life all figured out yet. And I would love to hear from you in the comment section. What is one thing about your future that you are still trying to figure out? Maybe it is your career, maybe it is your purpose, Maybe it is your relationships, maybe it is your finances, or simply what you want your life to look like. And so please kindly share it honestly in the comment section. I want you to know that there is no perfect answer here, because we are all at our different stages in our life, and sometimes someone's perspective in the comments might really be exactly what another person really needs to hear today. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I want you to really keep on growing, keep on learning, and remember always that you don't need the whole map of your life before ever you can have the courage to take the next step in your life that will take you forward. I will miss you, but then I am glad because I will see you again in my next video.